Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodeau, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
All right, welcome back. Another topic on Good Vibes. Martin False here with Debbie Cox DeNova, and we've been having some great topics. Today's topic, setting good boundaries. Now, I'll be the first to tell you I'm terrible at that, but it depends on what realm it's in.
Right.
There's so many different realms where you can set boundaries, but some people, they have boundaries. You go over it, done, over with, moving on. I'm just not good at that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm actually surprised that you said that because I find that you have a really good ability to set boundaries, but maybe there are some areas in which we can improve. Maybe
it's self-interpretation.
That's it. I mean, well, let's see, okay? Because today we're going to talk about, this comes from Dr. Tracy Marks, who's a clinical psychiatrist, and she talks about 5 ways that you can determine that you have poor boundaries and what to do about it, okay? So the first place we have to do, what we have to first do always is be willing to look, but because we can't manage what we're not willing to see, okay? Right. So the first sign is that you are someone who overcommits or people pleases. So in other words, you get asked to do something, you say yes by default without actually considering whether you want to do it, whether you have time to do it, whether you have energy to do it. So you're yes, okay? Or you're willing to bulldoze yourself in order to make other people happy, okay? So people typically know when they have a tendency to do this because it's all over their lives. We talked about this before, like you're committing to this and committing to that, and then all of a sudden you're showing up in a way that like you're letting other people down, which is horrible for a people pleaser. Right. So they'll exhaust themselves. Now, Dr. Tracy says that we all have a narrative identity. So this is a story that we tell about ourselves to ourselves, about the past, present, and future that jives with our values, okay? So your narrative identity might be that, okay, it's really selfish to say no when you have the ability to say yes, right? And I'm not a selfish person. I'm actually a really giving person. And so because I'm a giving person, if someone asks me to do something, and I have the skills to do it, I should say yes.
Amen.
Right. Okay.
That's my narrative.
Okay. Right. So if you're aware of that, that's really important, first of all, again, to become aware of it, okay? Because what you're going to want to do in private is you're going to write a list of your actual wants, needs, and values, okay? So you can actually identify for yourself where your true north is, all right? My wants, my needs, and my desires. So you need to be able to remind yourself about this whenever someone asks you to do something. First of all, we've talked about this before, giving yourself a little bit of space to consider it. Because if you have an impulse, if you compulsively say yes and you know that about yourself, then what you can start to do is go, let me think about that real quick. Let me check my calendar. Let me talk to my spouse. Let me, look at my appointments really quickly for the week, and I'll get back to you by this time. Now you've given yourself a buffer, right?
It's funny you say that because I've learned how to do that.
Perfect, exactly.
I'll have my people get back with your people.
There you go, exactly.
But I have been doing that. Give me a couple of days, and let me get back. I used to go, yeah. Oh, we need a donation. Yeah.
Yes.
Now I go, well, let me think about it. Tell me what it's about. Let me absorb it.
It's really important that you do that because because you may want to. And when I talk to people, my clients will say to me, I legitimately want to do all of it. When someone asks me to do something, there's a part of me that really actually wants to be there for them. But of course, they're one person with their own set of responsibilities. They have families, work. So they literally cannot be there for everybody at the same time. And of course, when you're a people pleaser, what tends to happen is that people who like to leverage your yeses, they'll actually come to you quite a lot, right? They already know you're going to be the one. Right. So you need to be able to identify for yourself, like, what is it actually important to me so that you can actually remind yourself that a no to them in certain circumstances is a yes to what's important to you. And then you want to practice. Now, setting boundaries is an iterative process, okay? It's not like you're going to be really great at it all at one time. It's sort of like these little steps that you take and you adjust along the way. So you want to practice saying no in low stakes situations where there's less impact to you. Someone asks you to do something, you fully well could do it, but you prefer not to do it, say no. Give yourself the confidence that nothing bad will happen if I say no. In fact, I'll have more energy to devote to the things that are actually important to me, okay? Number 2, feeling responsible for other people's emotions. Now, a lot of people that I work with have an empathetic sort of thing on. So someone's really upset in front of them or someone has a strong personality, they absorb the energy of the other person. So if someone's distressed about something and they are absorbing their own distress, even though they may not prefer to actually want to participate in something or do something, they feel compulsed to do it so that they can actually relieve themselves of this feeling that they're borrowing from someone else.
Relieve themselves of the poison.
Yes, exactly. So what's really important is to actually start to practice distinguishing between how someone feels in front of you and how you actually feel. So actually tease those things apart. Say, okay, this is their feeling, there's emotion. How do I actually feel? And remember in those moments, you need to remind yourself that you are not responsible for other people's feelings. We learn this, a lot of us, when we're very young, that we have to be responsible for the way that other people feel or we're not going to be okay. And that's an adaptive thing for a child. But as an adult, when you're continuing to do that compulsively and it's not working for you, it now becomes your responsibility to course correct that because you're not having that over responsibility of taking on other people's experiences as your own is exhaustive. It will deplete you out of everything that you need to actually run your own life and be happy in your own life.
Yeah, that's some good points. Let's do this. We'll put the extra time on the second part.
Okay.
We'll take a break now because I don't want to get started with 30 seconds left.
Okay, perfect.
And we'll come back. We're going to learn more. This is some great topics here in Good Vibes. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. All right, we're back. Part 2, setting good boundaries is the topic. Debbie Cox DeNova is here. And you're right. If you set a pattern with family, with friends, and you're always giving, and they're always taking, and you're always giving, and you're always taking, then you get to the point where you go, okay, I've had it, I'm burnt.
Yeah.
They will find a way to try to bust down the boundary.
For sure. Right. And so what's really hard for people, especially people pleasers, is that when they try to change the dynamic, they, of course, get some level of punishment in terms of like the people who were benefiting from them having low boundaries are now upset, trying to get them back into that role. So it's really important that we actually give ourselves the space to evaluate what's happening, what's important to us. And to that end, number 3 would be being unable to express your own wants and opinions. So you kind of go along with whatever's being said. Right. If there's an opinion that you have that is different from those at the table, you hold it back because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to be rejected. You want to kind of fit into the experience.
But don't you weigh it out at that point? You go, okay, if I say something, this person's not going to speak to me for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, is it really that important that I express my opinion? Because I know where it's going to go.
Yeah. And so sometimes it's just a matter of wisdom when you hold back on certain things, not wanting to get into the weeds with somebody on something that is and we actually will get to that. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes it's a matter of not being willing to express your own opinions and needs when you are in an experience at all of other people disagreeing with you. And that's when you know that there is something within yourself that is you're actually busting down your own authenticity and integrity in order to sort of play into other people's. And so a lot of this about boundaries is about the boundaries that you set within yourself, the part of yourself that wants to people please and be nice and make everything smooth, right? We're going to have to set boundaries with that part of yourself as well to recognize that wherever it starts to be unhealthy for you, it compromises your well-being. It is not something that we want to continue to play in. So what we need to do, first of all, is identify in private What are your needs and opinions? Be honest with yourself first. What opinions have you not shared that you've been kind of holding back so that you could actually keep the peace out there, write it down for yourself? And this is, again, it's an iterative process, right? You're going to want to go into a safe audience and start expressing that opinion. You're going to want to practice building up your self-confidence and being able to express yourself in a way that may ruffle the feathers of some people, and then stand like, this is what I need. This is my opinion, and allow yourself to feel safe in that, because when you do it in the small arenas, you can actually start taking it to bigger and bigger arenas. Okay. Number 4, feeling guilty about prioritizing yourself. And one of the examples that she used is that maybe, for example, you are a CPA and you're busy with tax season, right? And a friend of yours calls and says, hey, my sister could really use some advice after work today. Can you give her a call? And you don't know his sister, and she's not a friend of yours, right? And you want to come home after a busy day of working and watch TV. And so you tell him, hey, listen, it's really busy right now. I'm so tired. I actually just want to go home and relax, if that's okay. And so you say no. Now you've set aside this time for yourself where you're watching TV, but you can't actually fully be in it because you feel so much guilt about the fact that you didn't talk to his sister and give her this free advice when she's not even a friend of yours, right? So this is really important for you to actually recognize that whenever you have these guilt-inducing situations, to remember that if you don't replenish yourself, right? If you don't give yourself that time to actually take care of yourself, there's less of you to go around. So a lot of people, because they feel like it's a waste when, they set aside time for, a massage, or set aside time just to be in nature. They'll actually feel like this is a waste of productive time, or it may be selfish of me not to be available to everybody right now, when in fact, as a human being, we actually have a need to regenerate and rejuvenate ourselves with self-care. And so you need to remind yourself that if you are somebody who wants to be there for everyone else and wants to be productive, this is an actual need that needs to be fulfilled.
Some people don't have time for massage. I'll make time 24/7.
Right. Exactly. That's how I feel about it too.
Yeah, that's the therapy that keeps me rolling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I can't say that I don't understand the that sort of feeling of like when you're relaxing, that you're still kind of thinking like, oh, I got all these things that I could be doing with this time, right? So if you are wired, if part of your identity narrative is that like I am a productive person, it's a value of mine to get efficiency, get as much done, watch for that, because you can actually start bulldozing yourself when it comes to prioritizing self-care, which is a necessary thing if you want to be at the top of your game. Number 5 is sharing personal information or secrets before you've actually established personal trust with other people. So this is a really big one, because I have so many people that I work with that end up feeling resentment, which we've just talked about, because they let down the guards of their life too soon and let people that they did not vet in too close. And those people have a propensity to take advantage of certain situations, even steal in certain situations. And now they've given them sort of like carte blanche, like, okay, like opened up the doors, right? So we need to recognize that it is really important for us not to actually overshare too early, let people into our lives. And Dr. Tracy has a checklist of some things that it's not a hard and fast, like don't do it, but like you may want to consider before you actually start sharing, knowing that you want to read the room and make sure you're not making other people uncomfortable, making them feel judged, and that sort of thing. And on the list is medical issues and treatments, mental health struggles and issues with your parents, your siblings, extended family, past trauma experiences, past problems in romance, controversial political or religious views, finances like salary, debt, and spending habits. These are all topics that if you don't know someone very well, you're not going to want to just spill on all of these things, because it's almost like one of those things where you have to feel it out for whether you have permission to talk about certain things, because you can make someone feel really uncomfortable, really judged, really soon, and now you have kind of sort of breached that authentic place of yourself.
And don't buy expensive gifts in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, yes.
Wait
Exactly.
6 months to a year.
Yes.
Good topic. I loved it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have more
Yes.
next week. There you have it. Debbie Cox DeNova. Good vibes. We'll see you soon. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.